I just had infusions today, so I have some corticosteroids running through my system. And if you don't know what that is, I'm feeling funky, all right? So this one's going to be weird. Hi, I'm in the money. And today we're talking about whether or not you should be buying the Facebook dip, because as I'm speaking right now to your beautiful face, Facebook is down 25% on the day because they had earnings yesterday, which sucked. And that was not really surprising, because everyone's been pretty nervous about the fact that Zuckerberg has been taking billions of dollars cash flow from WhatsApp and Facebook and Instagram and throwing it in this furnace that is their VR and metaverse development and vision. And not really everybody, number one, agrees with their vision, and number two, the shareholders are not happy about how much money is getting literally just thrown into a furnace on a vision that might not even come to be. So in my mind, listen, when people tell you to buy or hold or sell something, they're not considering how much money you have, what's your time horizon, how old are you, what's your risk tolerance, etc. So when you hear me or anybody else tell you what to do, what to buy or sell, if you buy or sell based on that alone, you're an idiot and it's your fault if you lose money, okay? The idea is that you take in your personal life's considerations, and then the people you listen to on the internet's considerations, maybe, and then tie those together into making a decision, right? You're just gathering information. So when it's hard for me to say buy or sell, but I want to give you something to think about, the future of Meta, and whether or not we should be super critical of where Meta's heading. In my mind, there's one of two options. One, Zuckerberg eventually realizes that he can't just keep burning money on this VR thing that's heading nowhere. You can't get those pancaked lenses anymore pancaked. All right, people play with it for like an hour and then try to sell it on Facebook Marketplace, ironically. Eventually he realizes it's not going anywhere. I'm not sure if he has that capability because he might be all in, but my mind is that eventually if VR is not going to be a thing, it just won't be a thing. And he'll give up on that. And then what will happen is he'll just shut down the VR section of his company, right? And it'll go back to the normal Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, whatever, and the stock will recover, right? That's one thing. That's one possibility. Now that could take some time if that were to happen, because right now he's literally dumping billions of dollars into a furnace that might not pan out. So it's a gamble, right? But in my mind, ultimately, that's an out. Is that you shut down the VR department, you shut down the metaverse idea, all right, and all the things they show in their ads, like people like DJing and stuff. It's like, give real actual use cases. Like, seriously, you guys are jamming out on guitars and shit, and you have some bitch with like the goggles on, like, oh yeah, let me cue you in here. It's like, why not just anyway, I think it was the first quest they were showing like people doing like surgery or some shit. So like you really can't take those marketing things very seriously. I think the marketing might be a big problem because I think that people might not see the vision that Meta is heading towards because their marketing is just so bad. I guess we'll get to that in a second too. So one outcome is that eventually the VR whatever gets shut down. There's a discounted stock price because they've burnt billions of dollars that could have been invested into other things. And the stock will slowly recover as the cash flow from their normal, already functioning projects like WhatsApp and Instagram and Facebook, start rebuilding the stock price and increasing the valuation. So that's one outcome, okay? Another outcome is, holy shit, VR actually is the future. And guess what? With every single technological product, there has to be an awkward stage. Someone has to pioneer the awkward stage of VR. You can't go from like the very first VR clunky headset to wearing VR and it's perfectly integrated into reality, so you can see your keyboard and you have monitors up, and at like one swipe of your hand you can be like talking to your friend over here, and facial expressions look perfect, and your avatar doesn't look like super cartoonish. It actually looks kind of realistic or whatever. Like, you can't just make that jump. So the other outcome is that VR actually is the future, but the problem with both of those outcomes is that it's going to take time for the stock price to realize that. Outcome number one, VR actually does suck, and it just is not going to work besides playing stupid games. I think it can go beyond that to some degree. I would love to do, like, instead of just Discord calls with my friends when they're long distance or whatever, I almost said Skype, but no one uses Skype. It'd be fucking hilarious to do some version of VR chat, right? but with facial expressions, and it can track your limbs and that kind of thing. I would love to do that. I'd probably buy one just for that. So it does have certain use cases, but to what extent is it actually useful in the professional environment and collaborating with other people in a lot of different use cases, or is it pretty limited in that sense? I don't think Facebook in the long run is a loss. I think they have guaranteed a pretty shitty stock price for quite some time, because what else is it? He's all in on this metaverse vision. It either fails and he just shuts down the VR thing completely and goes back to his normal bullshit and has to regenerate the valuation of the stock through WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, etc., and the things that are integrated into that. Or and maybe their VR is a little bit a part of it, or they probably would just shut down a lot of it, though, a lot of the research and development, and just I think they'd eventually shut it down if it wasn't working out. And that might be 5 years from now. They don't know if they're going to fail or not until they try. Or there's a ton of use cases. It actually works out. People can wear them. Like people won't not have one by their desk because it's so useful to pop one on, have monitors up, talk to your friends, see their faces. It's fucking hilarious. Or maybe there's some game that's actually like has long-term value like Fortnite, but it's in VR. Like that doesn't exist yet. There's not that game that everybody plays in VR that you just want to be a part of. So professionally, there's nothing I don't think quite yet with like the Metaquest Pro. It's not quite there yet. It's not there for games. There's no real fucking super fun game except for maybe Phasmophobia or whatever. That shit's hilarious. But there's no game that's the thing, and there's no use case that is like super handy. I've seen people use the Metaquest Pro, and it's like they're like, yeah, it's like pretty cool. Like the color when you do the phase through thing, it's like almost there, but it's still glitchy. Like it's $1,500, and let's be honest, it kind of sucks. I haven't used it, but I've watched the people who were really excited to use it, and you can like hear them trying to be excited, but it's actually coming across as like fake. They sounded disappointed. So I think both outcomes for Facebook is that we have a very depreciated stock price that is going to be depreciated for some time. That's what I think. Could I be wrong? Yes. I mean, they're still making money. They're still getting cash flows from Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp, but they're burning so much in the furnace. And on top of that, they're losing the faith of the shareholders because it feels like the management doesn't know what they're doing. Like they have no limit to how much they're actually going to throw into the furnace. But there also has to be that company who's willing to do that. So outside of the stock price, if like we want to see if AR and VR is going to be the future, somebody has to try. Now, different companies will have different approaches to that. So maybe Facebook trying would be way different than Apple trying or Amazon trying or whoever the fuck trying. And so maybe Facebook is taking it the wrong direction, but we won't know until somebody fucking tries. And so Facebook's trying. And as a result, they're going all in. I think their marketing sucks and makes everything look really fucking awkward. But maybe over the next decade, they'll pull it off and it will be the future. And that's the big gamble, right? Is if you buy now as a young person and it actually pulls through and VR is the future. And like there's never a computer without a VR set nearby so that you can do the monitors and interact with people and share spaces and do different use cases and applications and like do calls with people instantaneously and everyone's like AR'd into your bedroom. You know, like that shit would be pretty fucking sick. And maybe that is the future. And if it is, if they're gamble and they are right, you can make a lot of money buying Facebook right now. Now, if they're not right and they're wrong and they shut down the VR thing and all the research and development stuff, I still think Facebook's going to appreciate, right? They have so much going besides just burning money on the VR shit that's going to compensate eventually. Obviously, you can never make up the billions you've burned. That's gone. But that doesn't mean the stock price won't appreciate in the future. But with both outcomes, in my mind, you're looking at a depreciated stock price for an unknown amount of time until they either fold on the idea or people start realizing, okay, they're actually onto something. And it might help if Zuckerberg wasn't such a fucking weirdo. He's just a kind of weird guy, you know? He's trying to build something that's like a social thing, but it's actually breaking apart the social fabric by making us more disconnected in some way. Or maybe that's what social media was it broke us apart, and now we need VR to bring us back together because we won't interact in real life. And if people ultimately do catch on and it becomes a fucking thing where everyone has a headset because it's just hilarious. I mean, honestly, I can see the potential. It's just like, can we actually get there? Because like, the steps are so incremental, and the technology to develop it is just like seems very difficult. I mean, even from just like the Quest 2 to the Metaquest Pro, it's like the pixels per inch went up, resolution's the same, you know, contrast is a little higher. They're trying to do a little bit AR, but has no real, you know, a whole lot of use cases yet from what I can tell. But if it does ultimately pan out, like the shit that's gonna fucking moon, because they are the ones pioneering it. They're gonna be the ones who are head starting all this. Just like with Tesla, with electric vehicles, like they got a huge head start. They have all these charging stations all over the fucking country, where not only are they making money off of people charging them from those stations, you know, but they can also rent it out to other electric vehicle companies. But that's besides the point. My point really is that they had such a huge head start because they decided to take a gamble and pioneer and take a risk on electric vehicles. And the company could go bankrupt. They, you know, the people backing them could back out. Any number of things could have happened to kill Tesla easily in the early days, and everybody's heard about that. So they took a risk, they took a gamble, and it paid off huge. Look at Tesla's fucking stock price. So yeah, when you look at Facebook, you might go, the vision's so dumb. Like what? We're all like supposed to like collaborate in VR. When are we all gonna be wearing goggles and shit? You don't know the fucking future, number one. Number two, I don't think it's ever going to be like glasses. So if you think it's going to be glasses, I'd throw that out the window. I think it's going to be something that you have by your computer that you use for your workspace or to fuck around with, like talking with your friends and shit. And there might be some other really niche use cases, but that would be generally it, in my opinion, I think. I don't know. In my mind, it's one of two options. Eventually they kill VR, that whole thing, and the stock recoups. Or VR is a big win over the next decade and the stock moons. And you wouldn't want to miss out on that. And you wouldn't quite know when that would be, you know. It's going to be a gradient. There's not exactly going to be a perfect moment where you're like, oh, VR, AR is the shit. Although there might be like some hints when things start becoming more useful and not so janky. So if I were young, which I am, but if I had like extra cash lying around, I wouldn't throw all the money I have into Facebook because you're thinking you're buying some great dip and that VR is the future, unless you're like super passionate about it. That's not what I'd do. I would take some money, you know. Why not? 5%. I mean, it's a huge dip right now. 5% of your portfolio or whatever. Buy some Meta. Because what if it does work out? What if it does? Best case, it does. You make a huge return. I don't know, 5-bagger, 10-bagger, whatever the fuck, off your 5%. And that's a large amount of your portfolio when it accumulates that much. What's the worst that could happen? Facebook goes to zero? No. But let's say it drops another 50% because they're so dumb they won't stop burning money. Well, you lost 2.5%, you know? So really the risk-reward ratio there is actually pretty good, you know? Because they have all those cash flows coming in from the stuff they already got going. So it's not like their stock price is going to go to zero. And if you invest 5% and that, you know, you get a 10-bagger on that, like, shit, that's a lot of money. But if you lose 25% on that, well, it's not that big of a deal. So if you're an older guy, don't fucking bother, in my opinion. Like if you're 50 or like 55 or whatever, heading into retirement, not enough time. Not enough time unless you want to hold a bunch of stocks through retirement and you have that kind of money, then you might be interested in doing that. But as a young person, it's like, hey, when you start seeing people trying to innovate somewhere, you might put a little bit of a bet on it, you know, up to you on how you feel about VR. But in my mind, it's like, if it pays off, if they're right, it would be huge. Now, the problem is, in my mind, Zuckerberg is the one leading it, and that worries me because I'm not entirely sure he knows exactly what a good vision for VR is and what people actually want out of VR. You know, with Facebook, not quite so hard. You just want to see other people's photos. You want to see their videos, right? And then now it's just like you just see random videos. You don't even see your friends' shit anymore. Because you see just random videos like reels and ads and stuff. I barely see any of my friends' shit. Even when I go to the profiles, I'm like, there's all this shit that was never in my home feed. So that's not hard. But to envision to have a perfect vision for VR and AR is going to be difficult for someone like Zuckerberg, in my honest opinion. You almost need you need someone more socially aware, not so wrapped up in barbecue sauce. Was that? Whatever, barbecue sauce. So yeah, if you're young, you know, why not throw 5% at it? Because it could pay off. If you're old and you don't want to lose money going into retirement, don't do it. If VR fails, doesn't matter. They'll hopefully stop burning cash before they, go bankrupt, and then they'll just keep getting the cash flows from their normal stuff. Even people who hate Facebook still use Facebook because they can't help it. They check Reddit, they check Snapchat, maybe they check all their social media platforms, including Instagram, which of course Facebook owns. And then they're bored, they tap on Facebook, they'll scroll through it for a few minutes. Like, everybody still uses Facebook. You can't say that you don't. You might use it less, but you definitely still use it. And I for sure use the messaging all the time, like nonstop. So I'm still connected to Facebook. I think a lot of people are. So to discredit that, it would be dumb. To discredit Instagram would be dumb. Everyone uses Instagram. Some of the funniest shit I've seen is on Instagram Discover, and the most disturbing things. Anyway, the social fabric of humanity has been broken, and it'll never be the same. And once VR actually, which I think it probably will, become pretty commonplace, possibly, that'll be weird. We're just warping the social fabric in so many different ways. Social media tore us apart under the guise that it's bringing us together, and now interacting with real people and going on real dates and stuff just is abnormal. People cringe at it. They don't like it. You ask a girl out or whatever. Maybe it's just me because it's me being awkward or whatever. But I've asked girls out and in very polite ways, non-intrusive, just hey, think really cute. Maybe you want to go on a coffee, or can I get your number or whatever? And they glitch the fuck out because they're not used to people actually asking them out on a date. When I feel before social media, maybe that was a lot more common because that's the only way you can approach someone. Just slide into someone's DMs. You either meet somebody at an event when you're doing an activity, which I think is the best organic way to meet somebody, or you just go up and ask hey, do you want to go to this party, this fair, this whatever with me? And now if you do that, people glitch out. They'd rather just have their social life on the internet. And so as VR and AR happens, does that tear us further apart, or is that taking the social media thing that tore us apart and brings us back together so we actually interact in some more of a realer sense because we have avatars and shit? It's this deep fried version of reality. Doesn't matter though, because I have a friend who lives 200 miles away right now because I'm living with my parents while I'm dealing with this autoimmune issue, and I would meme the fuck out of if I could do facial expressions and shit and just talk while playing with objects and stuff, I would do it. So buy the dip, maybe. I personally would, just in case, with a small percentage, just in case it pays off. Amazon just dumped a bunch. In my opinion, yeah, buy that dip. Jim Cramer's talking about we should be buying into the Dow Jones. Everyone's transferring over to Dow Jones Industrial Average. Buy the Dow, because NASDAQ's not hot. And I'm are you an idiot? He said from the 2000s high, it took 12 years to recoup the losses that happened after the dot-com crash. And it's yeah, if you take it from the literal peak of 2000, it took 12 years, including dividends, I think. But if you don't take it from the absolute peak and you consider the fact that you maybe bought the dip, you would recoup a lot faster. So when you see all these tech stocks dying off and everyone's moving over to somewhere else, in my mind, it's maybe this is contrarian, but it's don't move where the money is going into stocks that haven't depreciated. Take these stocks that are dropping, Amazon dropping 20%, the biggest company in America is dropping 20%. The company that's going to have a planet with the fucking brand Amazon just burnt into the side of it has dropped by 20%, and people are scared to buy it. I don't know, dog. I buy everything off Amazon. But anyway, yeah, buy the dip. Or not. Fuck it. I don't give a shit. We won't know if VR is the future until somebody tries, and maybe Facebook is the wrong person. They might be the wrong group. Management might be too bad. The vision might be stupid. Someone like Apple might just fucking nail it first try. So, but in my opinion, it's worth a small gamble. And that's the end of that. If you want free stocks from Webull, you can sign up below. They give you quite a bit of money now, which is I think it's $30 minimum, which is kind of ridiculous just for depositing any amount. You get some stocks for signing up and minimum $30 if you deposit a penny. Check it out. It says down there what's going on. There's some other stuff down there to check out. Now, if you want to follow along with my health channel to see why I'm fucking getting fucking infusions and shit, my brain's melting out my ass and all that, won't complain. you can find the link to my brother and I's health channel in the description below as well. Thank you for listening to this long-winded rant, and I love you very much. Hit subscribe and hit the notification bell right next to it, because YouTube does not like pushing new videos out unless you hit that bell. So hit the goddamn bell. All right, I love you guys very much. It's good to connect with you again, and especially in this kind of setting where I'm not like shirtless outside using my cell phone. So it's nice to up the quality a little bit. Man, I just kind of want to blab. Is there anything else I want to say? I wish Elon Musk was the one doing this. I wish it was him. Because that guy, as much as some people hate him, whatever he puts his mind to, he really pulls it off. And although that robot was a little iffy, I just think that I kind of wish it was someone other than Facebook doing it. But when you get that kind of huge lead in the development of virtual reality, it can pay off to have that kind of advantage when you've been working on it for years and throwing billions of dollars at it. It can kind of outdo, even if there's a better management team that would try later on. It can that kind of advantage can be hard for others to overcome. Okay, I'm done. Love you guys.